What up, Doe? It's your brother Mike X, and welcome to another episode of 17 Winners Podcast. Of course, I told y'all in the last episode that we are here at the FAMM Conference, the Families Against Mandatory Minimums. It is the 2025 conference, the Second Chances Working Group. So while I was here, I figured I would take the opportunity and have some conversations with some people from out of the state of Michigan. And I met some pretty cool people. The last conversation was with Oregon, the other side of the country. We are now in New York, and I have. Are you guys the only two members that are out in here? The only two members of the Prison Brain Trust out of New York. And instead of me trying to introduce the both of you, I'll just give y'all the opportunity to introduce yourselves, and then we'll go from there. So, starting with you, Alisha.
How you doing? Hi, I'm Alisha Kohn. I'm the co-founder and co-executive director of the Prisoner's Brain Trust. And I'm also formerly incarcerated. I did 10 years in prison, and also I'm a formerly incarcerated trans woman, and I did my time in a male's prison. A lot of horror, but met a lot of dope people. That is why I'm here and why I'm excited to be on this podcast, excited to have this conversation, and excited to be here with my board member, my communications director, Natalie.
And Natalie, you got the floor.
Hi guys, my name is Natalie Panarella. I am part of Prisoner's Brain Trust. I am board member, social media communication manager, and I am also treasurer. I'm also, my husband is currently incarcerated, and I got into advocacy because of him. Because being in a relationship with formerly incarcerated, with somebody in the inside, opens up your eyes to so much that the system tries to cover up and fool you, So I got into advocacy. I met Alisha. I met our founder, Paris, that is also our president, and also he's incarcerated.
Yeah, we're about to talk about that.
So, Alisha came to me, and then from there, it's been a road and a very long one, but we're here and we're trying to make a change for New York and across America.
For sure. Natalie, I actually appreciate that because you don't know yet, you haven't listened to the podcast, but my podcast centers on formerly incarcerated or currently incarcerated. And I'm usually talking to people that not only been there, but did it. Right? This ain't the Innocence Project. I'm talking to people that did it and decided to make changes in their lives. So the value of what you bring as a family member, we ain't really touched that on my podcast yet. So I definitely appreciate you being here. Alisha, you talked about your prison sentence. I want to get a little bit more into that. The way I do it on the podcast is I like to damn near go in the prisons, right? Mentally, we damn near go in. So the first question I always ask is, do you remember your prison number?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think you can ever forget that number. I don't care how many years it's been, but I was 0881011.
That's dope, because I wasn't going to make you say it, but I just asked everybody if they remember it, because it was branded, right?
It's branded.
It becomes who you are.
It becomes who you are. It becomes what you're called. It becomes you're a number. That's all you are. And I don't know how it's done in other states, but in New York, so I went to state prison February 21st, 2018. That means on February 21st, I was the 1,011th person entered into the state system. So only 41 days of the month, and there's already 1,000 plus. And there was probably a good couple hundred people in reception in downstate New York, where we go first to reception when we go to state prison. That's wild.
Yeah, that's wild. So how much time did you do?
I did 10 years. I was served a 5 to 15 year sentence.
Oh, for real? You had a 5 to 15?
I had a 5 to 15 and was denied parole 4 different times.
Shit.
I was convicted of arson. I was convicted of arson of an abandoned home who was addicted to drugs. Right? I was addicted to drugs. My lawyer, the judge in my sentencing minute says, if I could, I would have sent you to rehab.
Really?
I got arrested 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. It was my June. My first week of June was my senior year prom. The second weekend, I turned 18. The third weekend, I graduated high school. The fourth weekend, I was sitting in Orange County Jail in Goshen, New York. Like,
Man.
that was my month of June 2017.
What's
Like,
crazy is
yeah,
that's kind of
right?
how my life went
It's
at 18
right.
when I
It's
was
right.
in 2000,
Boom,
right? It
boom,
was like
boom.
high
And
school.
so,
I didn't even graduate. I skipped prom and that's it. So you've been home 6 years?
about to be 8 years.
About to be 8
About
years.
to be 8 years in June. And so, yeah.
I won't even go there yet. How long you been in advocacy work?
I would say, well, I would say the formal title of advocacy, I've probably been in for about 5, 6 years.
Okay.
I would say around 2019. Yeah, 2000, end of 2018, early 2019, I officially got into organizing. Um, but organizing happens long before that, right? It's the way I got into advocacy was while I was on the inside in 2015 in Katasaki Correctional Facility, labeled one of the worst prisons in New York State. I met my co-founder Paris, and I I was a person that I think we talked about yesterday. I ran the yard. I was addicted to drugs.
Perfect segue. Yeah,
Right,
tell me about how your
right.
bit was.
I was addicted to drugs. I was addicted to heroin. Right.
How did you get to that point? At 18, you got in the joint and you just floated around until you found you something. What happened? How did you get connected?
I was taken advantage of.
Okay.
I was taken advantage of. I went into prison, and I didn't know much. I came from white suburbia, right? And when I going into prison, I first started getting there. I first started like understanding like how prison works, but then realized that everybody's not nice.
Right.
And
Right.
knowing that like it starts with like, oh, it's like, oh, cool, like we can cook together and we can be friends. And I remember the very first night. Now I came into prison with a drug addiction, but county jail honestly forced me to like stay clean. But then I get into state prison about a month, 2 months in, and I meet this individual, and I'm gonna name him because it's my right to. His name is Juice,
Okay.
and he 1 o'clock in the morning, he told me come to his room when you're not supposed to be in other people's rooms. I was in the dorm setting, and he put a bag of dope in front of me, right on the locker, and told me to sniff it, and then proceedingly to rape me. It was over at that. It was, and that was the ongoing how I survived prison. That was my trauma. Like that was how I got through the day. That is how I didn't wind up like hanging from a sheet curtain.
Can I ask you this? Did you start your trans journey before prison, or did that happen while
during prison? So
Okay.
around when it comes down to transgenders, is just like it wasn't until 2015 that people who identified as trans could actually get medical life-saving medication, right? Hormone replacement therapy inside of the state system.
Okay.
And so despite knowing that I was trans, I couldn't medically transition, but I was definitely like social. I was like, finding myself. I was young. I was 18 years
That's
old.
why I
Right?
asked
I
that,
was
'cause
finding
like,
myself.
as a
I was 18
kid,
years old.
you're still maturing
It
into
went
what you
to
into.
the route of bisexuality to being gay to like, no, it's actually, no, I'm trans because it's what makes up my body, and to really understand it. And it, and some people saw that as a weakness, and I didn't know any better. And then when you're addicted to drugs, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like bless mom, because mom was there every single day. Mom was there through the, uh, phone calls, through the when I was just like struggling to like get high. And frankly, my mom saved my life because I cried my mom crying for drug money. She said, I'm going to send it to you this time, but I'm never going to send it to you, but I'm never going to give you any money or package again. This was 2010. 2017, I went home.
I was just gonna say, so you had about 7 years left to figure this shit out.
Mom was there on the visits. Mom was there with the phone calls.
I ain't sending
all
you
of
no
that.
more money. Fuck off.
No money or packages. And I think if she was to continue to do that, I would have probably died in there, right? So it forced me to do things I'm not proud of, right? But it also gave me my strength, my story, and that and like I was raped multiple times, like whether it was prisoners, whether it was sergeants, whether it was correctional officers, it didn't matter, right? And I didn't matter, right? Because it was, for me, it was about the drugs. For me, it was like, oh, this all I'm worthy is to be an addict, right? And then that's when like my last 2 years in prison, my like co-founder, it's like Paris saw something and believed in me.
Right.
believe and
Can you talk about Paris a little bit? Because Paris not here.
Paris is amazing,
Right?
in all the ways. So
who is Paris, first of all?
So Paris is the co-founder, the president, my fellow collaborator. He's doing 25 years for the felony murder law, and he's been fighting his case since the day he got arrested, through the appeals course and through everything. But also, Paris identifies as a gay man, and whereas I chose a life to play the yard, Paris chose to go to school. Paris chose to go to college, and with that, encouraged so many other people to go to college, to get college credits, to be better than themselves, right? And Paris inspired me, inspired so many people, and it didn't matter if you were using drugs or you were a student or you were doing the best thing, and everybody has a story. And Paris instilled and believed in me, and I came home and I got clean.
So you got clean after getting out?
I got clean after getting out.
Okay. Before you get out, how did you get out? Like when you say you met Paris and last 2 years you're bit. Tell me about the last. Like, what was that like, getting yourself together and ready for home?
It was the last 2 years of my bid. It was I went home on a conditional release date. So in New York, my sentence was 5 to 15. So if I did 2/3 of my time and completed their mandatory programs, I would get out in 10 years.
Oh,
and so
okay.
That's what ends up happening in New York. And so I end up doing the full 10 years after getting denied parole 4 times. 10 years was the state had to let me go unless basically I committed a new crime. Was the ultimate
Y'all gonna let me out of here. Yeah,
you have to let me go. And so
sure.
I came, and so it was the last 2 years. It was also it was max classification, because the way that New York works is that if your sentence is below 7 years, you go to a medium. And so I had the 5 to 15, so I did mediums the whole time, but I kept getting in trouble. And so I went to Southport, which is a max prison, but is solitary confinement the whole way forward. This is before the solitary confinement. It's a 250 bed facility that is now closed down.
All solitary confinement.
All solitary confinement, and a few they call them cadre workers, people who work inside prisons, who work inside prison.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was and then from there I went to Katasaki, and you know what? And
I've heard of Katasaki, so
right,
in music and all that.
You know what's I've had negative drug tests, right? I had fights, 30 days in the box. I do 9 months in solitary confinement for a love letter from another prisoner.
Do you feel like you were being punished for your sexuality?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. That's what ends up happening. It's being punished for their sexuality, and it's between the cops, other prisoners, but the reality is the cops are the worst, because they'll deny me things, but then randomly pull me out of my cell at 1 a.m. not to beat me up, because no one's looking and they want a little something. Sexually.
Wow.
Right? Very disrespectful all throughout the day, and then, hey, 1 o'clock in the morning, right? That wasn't even fellow prisoners. Yes, there are really bad prisoners, but that is not the norm, right? But usually people,
right? Because people are people.
People are people, right? But it's no, you're supposed to protect me, right? The cops are so, in theory, right? In theory, yeah. Right? They're supposed to be there to protect me, not to exploit me, not to further my drug addiction, not to do all the things. And so I wound up in Katasaki. So it was the first max that I've been to outside of solitary confinement. And honestly, I liked it better, because frankly, it was a lot of people who have done 10, 15, 20 years and was more mature. I experienced more trauma in the mediums than I did in the max facilities. In the max facilities, I was treated as a human being. I was treated as somebody who I mind my business, and that was it.
That was it. And that's the similar in Michigan. It's the lower the level, the wilder the
right. It was
population.
The max was no one cared. Not everyone talked. I wasn't friends with everyone. I'm
right.
But it wasn't just because
what you're doing
exist,
doesn't matter to others.
Yeah. And so that's been something that, but yeah, no, the last 2 years, it was I started slowing down my drug addiction, but like
Okay.
not really. But
Okay.
it was like, I was getting closer to going home. I knew I had to be clean off parole. And what New York does is they put you in a cell by yourself for basically solitary confinement 5 days before your release. And for the grace of God, spirituality, all of that, I couldn't find anything those 5 days that I was locked in a cell. So I detoxed off of
You
heroin.
couldn't find nothing. You was
Nothing.
hitting
And
the yard.
which is sadly an oddity within the prison system. It shouldn't be that way, but it's sadly like the reality is whatever was happening that week is like dry. And so I couldn't find anything. I was stuck in a cell. I couldn't go to the yard. And I detoxed off of heroin. My last 5 days
last 5 days.
last 5 days. And
That's solid.
and then my release date comes and I was on parole. And I knew that I could not get high whatsoever. It was like, because I didn't want to go back to prison, right?
It
wasn't right. It wasn't the rehabilitation. It wasn't. It was
do that again.
The fear of God, right? The fear of God. I'm not trying to go back to prison. And the same way I did prison time is like, I came home and did day by day. It sucked. It's like it took me 6 months to find a job. I had to do sex work coming home just simply to survive. I was placed inside of a motel that was known for drug use and sex work. So like putting right back into the lion's den.
Right into it. And that was the reentry program. That was the reentry plan.
That was the reentry program. And it's like, then going to parole. But then I discovered that I'm an amazing person when I'm not high, right? I'm an amazing person when I'm not on heroin. And things started clicking. And I noticed that like the first job that I got was at the Newburgh LGBTQ Center because someone believed in me more than just the felon, right? Before, I was flipping grilled cheeses and all of that fast food, but then I became an organizer, right? And everything that I saw inside of prison. So this is, and I think we can't honestly talk about prison without honestly talking about race. And so I know you're just hearing my voice, but I'm a white girl. And you know what? I come from white suburbia. Majority of my high school class, I think there was maybe one person of color inside of my graduating class of 250, right? Wow, it was very, right? Exactly. So, and going into prison and being white, there was two options, right? It was, well, three options. It's like you're almost put into force. Either A, you're convicted of a sex offense, right? And that's unfortunately how a lot of statistics do show up, is people who are white often are convicted of sex offenses. And that's a whole other podcast. That's a whole other podcast. Yes, all the things.
Yes.
Or be a Nazi, right? Now, I grew up in white suburbia, but no, I'm not a Nazi. But it was the Dominicans, it was the Puerto Ricans, it was the Jamaicans, it was everybody. It was like who just, show me how to bid. A lot of the old timers showed me how to bid and showed me how to do it. But like by me being white, like no other white people wanted to mess with me because I was trans. Right, so I was dismissed. Like even the neutral, the individuals that weren't involved who were white, like they didn't want to mess with me because apparently me being trans and white was a bad look for them.
And it was,
right,
because I told you when I met you in our conversation that like having a daughter that's a teenager that's meeting friends, and in my mind there's nothing sexual happening in her mind. But the reality is she's 15, right? So like, there's a lot happening, right? And there's, in your mind. Yeah, that's what I said in my mind, right? But the reality is like, my baby is experiencing things, and she's having friends that, are having different pronouns and having different experiences in life. And that opened me up to even examining the way that I was in prison, as well as the way that I show up now, right? Because in prison, I ain't gonna act like I wasn't a part of the group that said, hey, stay away from gays, stay away from gambling, stay away from, if I'm being honest, those three, gambling, gangs, and games, like sports and shit, were the three things that I made sure and stayed away from during my time. The gay part wasn't as much because you were gay, but because so many things are attached to the lifestyle of homosexuality inside. Mind you, because most of the men wrapped inside of some level of a homosexual lifestyle in prison are doing it in a sneak tip. So they're not like being themselves. The ones that are being themselves have always been honestly cool as hell with me, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like they've always been, you're you. I know that. I don't have to. It's the ones who are faking it who become so violent, or who be when it gets exposed, or when you interfere, or when somebody else who's sneaking ends up crossing the path, or you know what I'm saying? So I definitely understand how they would reason that having a trans in our circle, especially y'all got cars, and y'all call it cars in New York, like in feds they call it cars. In Michigan we just like separate ourselves, but basically
it's not called, it's just groups.
So and then
tables
like
is
group
like,
or their table,
table,
it was like, oh yeah, we'll look soft. So I understand that from that perspective. Which honestly is part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because I could only imagine the levels of trauma that you had to overcome in order to get through your bit. I'm one of the first to say that, if I'm being honest, I had an easy bit. Like, I did 15 years inside. I've been in some shit. Like, I got some stabbings and shit under my belt, but like, kind of because I wanted to. Kind of because I was in the mix and I wanted to, put myself in a leadership position or do something was going on. I was able to walk through prison without many problems, right? Like the problems I got involved in, I brought to myself. Where I don't think that was necessarily the case. Like a lot of the shit that you had to deal with, it was just shit. Just open the door at 1 o'clock and say, hey, come on out here. And you really don't have a choice. Like you can say no, but what fuck, I'll put you in the hole. We'll beat your ass.
Right?
Like you don't do what I say. So like, damn, that's a whole nother level of trauma that I don't think is even recognized on the grander scale. So I appreciate you being willing to come on and like even talk about that stuff, because that's not what we do here, is like trauma porn. But that's a reality that I don't think I've even talked about out loud. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, and that's like, and so like going back to before I got released, it was like we started having conversations, me and Paris and a few other folks, of like what does it mean to tell our stories when we get out here, right? And what that opened up the doors was like not only me telling my story, but like getting those brain juices thinking, right? Like we didn't know in 2015 we were creating a nonprofit that's going to be amazing. Like we were just like, how can we tell our stories? Because how can we tell the differences of all the individual stories? And so time passes, time goes on, Prisoners Brain Trust becomes formed. And this was 2023.
Okay.
Before that, we did collaborative work with the Newburgh LGBTQ Center, but then we decided to become completely independent. And what's really unique about the Prisoners Brain Trust is that most of our Paris is a gay man, I'm a trans woman. The rest of our team, all straight males. All straight males. It's like they're me and Paris's little brothers, big brothers, like Paris's grandpa. You can edit that out if Paris catches it's hard, but no, Paris's grandpa. Paris's grandpa. Yes, I'm the bossy little sister. I'm the bossy. Yes. So
and the whole rest of the incarcerated team
are all heterosexual, because we're fighting for the same thing.
That's
like
real.
And we're all, and it's like like everything is interconnected, right? Of like between parole justice, between shitty sentences, when a judge should have the option to send an 18-year-old child to rehab and not 15 years in prison, not 5 to 15 years in prison. That should be an option, but it's not, right? And our sentences, our harsh sentences, the things we go through, and the ability to connect, that it's like, it doesn't matter if a person is trans, it doesn't matter if a person is gay, it doesn't matter if a person is straight, we're all inside this prison. We're all wearing, in New York where we are green, we're all wearing green, and we all have a DIN number. And it's that awareness, right? I can say some members on our team, when started talking about pronouns and like LGBTQ, half our team was like, LGBTQ, what is that? What's pronouns? That's grammar I learned in first grade. And man, one of our team members, actually, Aladdin. We work with a lot of college students, and particularly we work with Vassar College, and a lot of Vassar College students tend to identify as queer, and so
Okay.
we partner up with our interns of our incarcerated folks into being able to learn, help with projects, Instagram graphic, all the things that we need done. Um, and but through that symmetry is like our team started learning like, okay, what does LGBTQ stand for? What does pronoun stand for? And I remember this one conversation with Alana when we were talking about an intern, and me, the Alicia trans woman, all of that, misgendered one of my interns, and Aladdin, who, yeah, who's straight, he's a
He
heterosexual
checked you
man.
on it?
He was like, wait, did they change their pronouns? I thought they used this. And I was like, you know what? You're right, right? And I was like, wow, like all these things of like learning to connectivity, but at the end of the day is that no, we're fighting for parole justice. We're fighting for sentencing reform, right? It's
Right.
getting to know each other and like several of the folks, right? Um, Brian, Brian,
I was just gonna say because you were kind of leading me into my next level,
yeah,
and that is where Prison Brain Trust is now and how Natalie got a part of the team.
yeah, and so we're forming our team, and we know that we want to tell our stories, and that we want to support advocacy, and we want to do legislative advocacy because we realize that policy is the only way for people to get home. Because relying on parole commissioners, relying on prison-based programs to get people home, is not working, at least in New York State. And so we know we need to change the policies, and we need to change the policies to make sure that they hear our voices. Because a lot of shitty policy gets passed and prisoners don't get a voice in any of that, and but they're the ones who have to deal with the sentencing laws, the prison condition improvement laws. And so we decided to take on felony murder. And so on the inside at Eastern Correctional Facility, Paris said, started working with different individuals in the Barred Prison Initiative program, and started meeting people like Brian, like Aladdin, like Eric, like Picasso, LB, anyway, yeah, Taiki, right? And so we're meeting, and noticing that half our team is actually convicted of the felony murder law,
Oh,
and
shit.
realizing that, like, it's like there's a lot of people, and it's like, okay, what does that actually look like? And so when we became an organization and we needed to get our board members, one of the first things we did is we had individuals coming home, right? And it's like, oh, you can be on the board, but also realizing it takes a lot of work to start a nonprofit.
Yes, it does.
Because there's no money when you first started out, and you're basically doing this for free. You're working two jobs but then also going to Albany and taking no pay days, and doing all the capital things, right? Coming to conferences across the country, all part of the advocacy work. And it wasn't feasible for someone who's just walking out the door to be able, because it's reconnecting family, it's getting the jobs right away, and we didn't have any money to be like, hey, here's for you to get started. Like, we didn't have any of that. And so, but then when we started like mobilizing, that's when, we were like, we want to have the individuals that we reached out to Natalie, and we also reached out to Emma. And because they were involved in their husbands were locked up, they were, it's like we were in communication. And it came down to the point of like, I had a conversation with Natalie and was like, hey, Natalie, like, this is what we're doing. We're starting the Prisoner's Brain Trust. We need 3 board members. And from that moment, it was, Natalie was like, wait, you're kidding. What? You want me to be a board member? And I was like, absolutely. And on top of that, like, not only just being the board member to sign the papers for the state, but then also taking on social media. That's where we doubled our following, because before I was just doing social media, and we doubled our following, like, literally since the day she took it. I'll give her that. I was like, all right, you go. Like, and it's been beautiful because we heard in one of the sessions, it's, moms and wives get legislation passed, and that's what Natalie is. Natalie's ready to like, and to be here to like take time off of work and to move into these positions to like, okay, how can we actually make this change? Because unfortunately, we do live in a capitalistic society, so
money
we're trying
matters.
to put people on payroll right away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we knew one thing when starting the Prisoner's Brain Trust is our president of the board has to be currently incarcerated. No ifs, ands, or buts. Even if they go home, nope, a new president needs to get voted in. Our directors are all currently incarcerated. I'm co-executive director. Yes, that is my position, but also my goal, what I do, is I'm taking phone calls with guys on the inside all day long.
All day long.
Right? I'm going to meetings and representing and telling their story because they can't physically be at the meeting at this point. But every idea that comes through, every year we do a Remembrance Day of the Attica Uprising, came from our folks on the inside. The felony murder law campaign, when we said what policies we want to focus on, the felony murder law came directly from them. Every 2 years, we do what is called the prisoner agenda, where even being formally incarcerated, I stay out of the process. Whether our folks in Eastern will go around to other folks in Eastern and in other different parts of the state, like through messages and all of that. What are the top priorities for prisoners? And we have 5 top priorities of what is the prisoner, what are these prisoners' issues? What are the issues? And it's the felony murder law, it is parole justice, it is sentencing reform, it is youth incarceration, and prisoners' right to vote. Right? Those are our 5 top issues of that, what we do, but it's everything from explain what the problem is and here's the solution. Because we're the Prisoners Being Trust, we like you said with the podcast, this isn't a trauma porn podcast. No, we're going to tell you what's wrong, and then we're going to give you the answers
to
for
fix
it.
Yeah.
Because if anyone's paying attention to national politics right now, we live in a fascist government. We live in a fascist world right now. Hey, prison is an entirely fascist state. If anyone knows how to survive fascism, it's prisoners.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And then we have Natalie, and Natalie comes on and becomes a powerhouse, right? And becomes somebody who is just ready to take on any different parts and pieces, and of like always wanting to know more information. And if it's, can I pass it to Natalie?
Yeah, I was just going to say something. Natalie,
I'm like, I'm speaking for
let me give you the floor, Nat. So talk to us a little bit about, because you already, in your introduction, you told us that your husband is
Yes.
currently incarcerated and you've been grinding with him, but kind of get me to why Prisoner Brain Trust and like how that connects him, because he wasn't a part of the original group, right?
No, he wasn't.
So help me understand that connection.
My husband, he's my high school sweetheart.
What's his name?
His name is Brian. And
shout out Brian.
Shout out
Stay
to
up,
Brian. We met high school, right? Typical high school, 2 lovebirds, thinking that, me was oblivious, because everybody will tell me like, oh, why are you dating him? Blah, blah, blah. He has another girlfriend. And I'm like, oh, what are you guys talking about? I went to all girls school, so I'm just thinking like, shut the fuck up. Like, like, I know you like him, so shut the fuck up, So we were supposed to go to the same college, right? We get scholarship through something called EOP in the state of New York. So we end up going to orientation. By that time, we already had split.
Okay.
Right? So he saw me from far, and I was with my roommate, which was also my high school best friend, And he goes, yo, Natalie! And I'm like, whatever, going about my business. And he runs up to me, and he's like, yo, can I talk to you real quick? I'm like 16, 15 years old, straight. I was mad. You wasn't my prom date like we had planned, And my roommate, she was there like while I was like trying to pick myself up. She was like, leave her alone, Brian. Nobody want to talk to you anyway, And then he got pissed off. And he goes, don't worry, have your fun. You're going to be my wife one day. Didn't hear from Brian after that. I graduated college. 13 years later, a mutual friend reconnected us, right? So we were conversing. He'll call me through his cousin, and he tells me, oh, can you come see me? I'm like, come see you? Right. I'm like, come see you? Like, with what time am I going to go see you? Oh, just come. I'm like, I don't know if I want to take a 6-hour drive to sit down.
For another 6
hours.
For
another 6 hours, So one day I was speaking to my mom, and I was like, listen, like, this is going on. What do you think? And she told me, you know what? Everyone makes mistakes, and I'm not God. You're not God to judge. So just go. See what happens. So I see I go, I see him, and I ask him, so what are you doing while you're here? what are you working on while you're here?
Shit, that's a good question.
You know?
Because a lot of people ain't working on nothing in that motherfucker.
Yep. So
And
that was
your woman coming. Well, you wasn't even his woman yet.
No.
This is like first date, damn.
Yeah, this is like first
prison
date after like 13 years.
Yeah, so the first time y'all sitting in the visiting room, you
Yep.
like, dog,
So
what you
I
doing?
go
You
through
just
the
doing
whole-
a bit, or you really trying to get
Yep.
better? Okay.
I go through the whole process. CO registers me in and says, another one? And I'm like, another one? So, you know. So then I go in, I see him, hug him, whatever. Like, time didn't pass for us. That's how it felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so what are you doing? Like, what is it that you're working on? What is it that you want
Mm-hmm.
to do? Like, what are your goals outside of here?
Mm-hmm.
And he tells me, oh, you know, I'm in school, I'm working on my college degree and stuff like that. He was in the prison closed already. The prison closed. He was near Vermont, almost near Vermont.
Almost, up north,
all the way up north,
Yeah.
right?
Well, y'all say up north, y'all mean up north.
Yeah, up north.
They
Yeah.
see you up
So
north.
then his cousin was. Then that's all he told me, and I'm like, that's it? That's all you got? Like, you don't have any other goals than just finish school? Like, I want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
So his cousin tells me, oh, you know, he writes. He's a good writer. And I'm like, oh, I want to see it. I'm like, you do know that you can become a published author from here. Like, you don't have to wait to come home to do projects and all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where our journey started.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
It started right on that visit.
Okay, so how the hell you get to prison?
So then he asks for a transfer.
Okay.
To Eastern Correctional Facility.
Damn, all right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was when he transferred, he got his first published poem.
Okay.
With a contest that he did with docs.
Okay.
So then he gets into BARD. And he meets our president.
Paris. He met Paris.
Right? He met Paris.
Okay.
So my husband is the type of individual that if you tell him you're going to help him with something, he is holding you to that word.
That's real. I ain't
Right?
mad at him. I'm not mad at him.
Especially when it comes to his education. He does not play with that. So there was one time Paris told him, oh, yes, I'm going to reread your essay. I'm going to help you. So he calls me, what the fuck? This, you know? And I'm like, can you just relax? You know, maybe something happened. And then eventually Paris helped him. And then they start talking. And then he starts telling me about Prisoner's Brain Trust. Oh, you know, I'm going to make I'm going to write a piece for Prisoner's Brain Trust. And I'm like, but what is Prisoner's Brain Trust?
Right?
You know, what is Prisoner's Brain Trust?
What are you telling me about?
What are you telling me about? Right? So then he starts talking about Prisoner's Brain Trust. Then he starts talking to Alisha.
Oh, so he started talking to you on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then one time I was on the visit and we can't do cross visits, right? So Paris was on a visit. Alisha was on a visit. And it was when we had weekday visits because now the state of New York, we don't have any weekday visits because of the strike that just happened.
Okay.
And Brian goes, hey, look, that's Paris. And I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, that's Paris over there. So I got introduced like
on the visit.
Way across the room. One side of the room.
And a lot of my closest friends got close with my mom and them just because, hey, Ma, this my man I be talking about all the time. Yep. I understand.
So then I guess Paris and Alisha thought that we were like in our early 20s, you know, and we were like, no, we're in our 30s, you know? Right? And we connected. I connected with Paris. And then from there, it was just on, tell me more. I want to know more. Sure. My husband was applying for clemency. I reached out to Alisha, and I was like, what can I do to make his clemency package stronger? You know? And she was walking me through it. Paris was walking Brian through it, I believe. We got his clemency packet together, and she will always tell me, don't forget anything he does, whether it's publishing something, whether it's working with another organization, you send that out. So I'm like, okay. Then she calls me one day. I think I was on my way back from work. had a horrible day at work. She's like, hey, do you have a second? I would like to talk to you. And but funny story, Paris already talked to my husband about it. But my husband was instructed on not to tell me anything. And that is really hard because that's my best friend. Like, we tell each other everything the best we can, especially considering his situation. So she called me, and I'm like, I'm hearing her talk, and I'm like, oh, I want you to be a board member. And I'm like, a board member? I'm like, you got the right person? Like, I'm like, you really think I could be a board member? Like, what is it that you guys see in me that you want to be? And then she was like, you're so involved in Brian's life, and we want something like that in our organization. So I'm like, okay, tell me what I got to do. So then she tells me, listen, we need to fix our social media. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Give me your social media account, like information. Let me go through it and let me see what I can do. So then I tell her, and I'm like, well, we need to clean up a lot, And I start just posting, and then like I will text her like, hey, what are we working on that we need a post? We need a post. Like, I'm seeing like all these other organizations are posting. What are we doing?
In the mix.
Right? So I start by sharing other organizations' community events or their campaigns, And then she calls me a week later, and she was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, we have like double followers, our likes went up, right? So I'm like, well, we always have to beat the system. Like, everything in social media, when it comes to social media, is run on statistics.
Right. Algorithm. For sure.
So then from there, I go, okay, what's next? Like, tell me more. Like, what is it that I need to learn? Like, if you want to teach me, I'm all in, right? So then we come in with the felony murder campaign. My husband he got convicted through the felony murder. Yes.
Okay.
Robbery gone wrong. He didn't know that somebody was going.
Most people don't know somebody's going to die during the commission of a robbery. Yeah. We usually go in just thinking that we're going to rob.
Like, he takes full responsibility for what happens, right? But unfortunately, he ends up getting felony murder. He gets hit with felony murder.
So how much time Brian got left to do?
He has 10 years.
Okay.
Now he has 5 more to go.
Okay.
And we're hoping, and now his hope is that our felony murder campaign goes through. That's like what he's holding on to right now. Like, you know what? Sure. I'm gonna come out. My wife, Prisoners Brain Trust, they're gonna make it happen.
For sure. Right? So that brings me back to Alisha now, because I'm wondering, or I guess give your perspective, and then I'll let Alisha give her perspective, because why does that bring you to this FAMM conference? Or like, why are you at this FAMM conference? Why does this matter?
So this matters to me, not just because I want to help other incarcerated individuals, right? But it's personal for me. It's personal for me because it's like, it's hitting home, I know that every family member, every family has at least one individual that did time, statistically proven, So before I started with my husband, I had a cousin that wasn't formally, that he did federal time. But so it goes way back, because it's like, oh my God, if I would have known this existed, maybe we could have been more of a support system, So it hits home because I see how Brian's family is torn apart because of this, I see how his sister struggles, his mom struggles, and it's sad because it's across the board. It's not just his family. So it's like I got the opportunity to fight, not just for my husband, but for
everybody that's
everybody.
attached to this.
And I feel like when it hits home, that's where you wanna fight. You know, you wanna put in that fire, because it's like if I'm helping my husband, I can only imagine how many other people I'm gonna help.
For sure.
And then it also helps because we're in this conference, but we're not just in this conference just because, right? We're in this conference to learn. And as social media communication manager, I'm here because, okay, I want to know what I can get from each segment to see how we can better our campaign, to see how we can make our social media and make our presence more vibrant.
Mhm.
Not just, oh, Prisoners Brain Trust, who's that, you know?
Yeah.
I want it to be like, oh, we know Prisoners Brain Trust, you know?
Sure. Make that stamp, put that stamp on it.
Exactly. But it just doesn't start with social media. It starts with everybody. It's like talking to the inside team, asking them, what is it that you want to see? Like, what do you want your families to tell you when they go to our social media platform?
Mhm.
Like, by the way, if you guys are interested, you guys can follow us at Prisoners Brain Trust on Instagram.
Yes, please follow them.
You know, we also have a website that we launched this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about that. It's about collaborating. It's about just giving them a voice through us, you know.
Sure.
And I think like a lot across the country, that's what we're missing. You know, we're missing that because they need to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, your freedom got taken away, but your ability to communicate, your ability to write it down,
who you are, your
and who
dignity
you are,
is not lost.
It's not lost.
For sure.
And that's why I feel like I made the right decision in joining Prisoners Brain Trust and taking the offer, because at the end of the day, this is not just an organization. This is a family. So let's say Alicia's not available and Paris needs to contact Alisha, he'll send me an email, right? We even built our own, aside of our personal emails, we built a email for our organization where our inside team can email us, and we get the word out like to the proper person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, this person has social media questions, can you answer to this email?
Gotcha.
Or this person has questions for the interns, can you have the interns log into our email and see what they can say? We work as a team, as a family, right? Because we're trying to upbring, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what's important, and I think that's what made us so unique. You know,
I like that.
we operate from the inside.
Right, that's hard.
And that is very hard. You know, and our team in the inside do faces challenges.
Yeah.
They don't, like any other organization that has a team in the outside. We do face challenges because we have to statistically say, like, okay, like how can we get them into this meeting? How can we get them into talking in a class? Because we do teach at Vassar College, but we're not teaching, they're teaching, you know, and that's what making it so unique. We get interns where, like, I'm social media manager, but my husband is the director of activism. So I can approve something, but I have to make sure that I tell the team that is working with me on something, like, hey, we need to send this out to Brian because he needs to approve it. If he doesn't approve it, there's no way we can make it, we can release it, you know? So we want them to feel part of the organization. So we try our best to do that.
I appreciate that.
I feel like,
Alisha, what you think?
Yeah.
Then actually, I want before I get there, I also want to acknowledge what you said though, that families, your role as that family member and like being that active. I appreciate you. We need you. Speaking on behalf of Brian, whoever the fuck else, right? Like we be needing y'all inside of there. I've seen what it looks like with no support. Even with your mom, Alisha, when like her staying there on point, even though if she ain't sending the money, like being there
on that visit, yep.
Like people don't understand how valuable support is and how hard MDOC whatever DLC
Mhm.
does to
Daily,
try
yeah.
to deter family support. Even I heard Natalie say something about when she went on the first visit, they said another one. There may not have even been anybody that ever came in that day, but they just wanted to throw something in her mind to make her discouraged about coming to see him. That's the type of bullshit mind games they play. So I appreciate you standing up the way that you have. But Alisha, the question is the same to you. Like, why fam? Why here? Why now?
So, yeah, no, FAM in general has like a lot to do with kind of where we're at today.
Okay.
So FAM entered into, I met FAM, specifically Celeste at FAM, 2 years ago at the first ever National Felony Murder Law Conference. And and so getting involved in this national network, I've been involved in a lot of like New York State network stuff, but then going to a national level. So that was like one of the first major national conferences that I went to on criminal justice organizing.
Okay.
And so through that, I met Celeste at FAM, and we stayed in contact. FAM is also working on the felony murder law. And then on top of that, we do our own state advocacy. In New York, we have a law that's called the Second Look Act, right? That is like why this conference exists.
Right.
And meeting people on a national level is so. My New York folks, I love them and all of that, but I see them all the time. Whereas on the national level, one, I don't see folks all the time, and the things that are going on in Michigan, those tactics can be used in New York and vice versa. That's where we learn. That's it. Is you learn across the state, and you meet so many different people and different organizations, different collaborative partners to bring new ideas. Like our last plenary session, we heard from Tony and her daughter Megan about their work in Minnesota about the felony murder law. I met Tony and Megan when Megan just came out of prison after getting the reversal on the felony murder law. And we modeled their campaign because when Tony said up there, it's like, my daughter was locked up and I was not going to stop until she was home. That's where it's like our felony murder, where we moved our felony murder campaign to make sure it's about those voices, to make sure it's about the individuals, make sure it's the people, the families that are affected, right? The first time that I met Natalie in person was at the Attica, our annual Attica Uprising event, and Brian's sister was there, Brian's mom was there, and talking to them, it's like, this is what we do. We're ready to bring Brian home, because there's always a fear within the system of like, hey, like if you speak too loud, you're gonna get hit, you're gonna get denied, you're gonna not go home. And it's like, no, we're here to support each other. And it's like that across like national. Like, it is the first time meeting you, but this will definitely not be the NAS. I already told you you're coming to New York in March.
I'll be in New York in March, so we locked in. So we locked in.
But like, that's the thing. And because, even the organizing community, like, we have family, and families don't always get along. There's some organizations and people who like
family.
Oh, you're here? But there's also like, no, it's like where we can go out to eat and where we can laugh, because like these conferences are great about information, but it's honestly like these big giant family reunions of where you meet different people and you learn different tactics. You learn like, and it's kind of funny. It's like we were here, we were laughing together this entire conference, because every time they said something, New York was not mentioned. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. And this isn't jealousy. It's like, wow. In Republican-controlled states, they're passing the very similar things that we're fighting for, and like being able to learn about their tactics, being able to learn like what works, what didn't work, what has been tried. Oh, how can we share data, right? How can we, because everything from data to different stories to being on different platforms of like, that's what these conferences are about. Like, how can we actually engage? How can we actually change policy collectively? Because the United States got the highest incarceration rate than any country.
Man, y'all answering these questions perfectly, right?
I mean, any country, right?
I'm
like,
almost there.
It's like so true, because last night while we were having dinner before you joined us, right? I was like, Alisha, New York State sucks. Like,
so y'all getting me to where I need to go, though, right? Narrative change in education.
Oh no. Yeah, we don't need it. Yeah. Yeah, no, positive.
So
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know. I live for the first. I don't know. Maybe you can maybe what.
Then why did you open the door? That was crazy, but whatever. I'm not even gonna cut that out because that was crazy as hell. Weird. But anyway, narrative change in education are a big deal for me and a big deal for this platform. So I have two questions, maybe two questions. The first being, what are they slash we getting wrong when it comes to narrative change in education?
Um, I think you mentioned part of it like at the start of this podcast of I I've been in situations where I'm only worthy of my story,
Mm.
not my policy ideas, not my strategy ideas. They get overlooked, and it's like, and that's not exclusive to me. It's exclusive to so many folks. Of like when it comes to elected officials, when it even comes to fellow community organizers and organizations, like you're only good enough for the story. But hey, we also have solutions. And it's really getting to that pinpoint. Like what we're as we said, we're teaching a class at Vassar College, and we're not teaching how bad prison is. We're teaching about the intersectionalities of the mental health crisis and incarceration, environmental sustainability and incarceration. We did youth incarceration, right, and the connections between lack of youth development and incarceration, right? We're hitting all these different points of providing solutions, providing the multiple ways, but we often don't get heard for our solutions, right? We often don't get asked about like what is the change that we need to make, because like a lot of folks understand that yes, our prison system is bad, but like okay, what is the solution? And we provide that at the Prisoners Brain Trust. It's like here's the solutions, and it's like what do collectively, like as organizations, is start listening to those who are directly impacted beyond their stories, beyond the trauma porn, beyond all the different pieces, and making sure that we hit every corner of this prison system, whether every state, every how that we were just on a call Thursday with a woman from Australia who's battling the felony murder law, who came to the States, who's writing a whole report on Australia's use of it to understand how United States is navigating and how to fight the felony murder law. And so, but actually listening to the individuals and actually listening to their policies, and stop putting us in front of the podium and bring us into those backroom conversations.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like I've been on enough podiums. I did all. It's like no, bring me to the back room. And what's been, and because we label ourselves like that, I've been at this organizing for, like I said, 5-6 years, and supporting many different bills, going all the way to being the podium, being team lead for advocacy days, talking on different press conferences about various different bills, from sensory reform, for parole justice, youth justice, you name it. And when we decided to pick up the felony murder law, it felt so good to knowing that we wrote that legislation. Right? It felt so good that we were there for our policy ideas, that rewrote the legislation. And, we have the best felony murder law legislation that is constantly out there, because we are abolishing the felony murder law, right? That's what abolition.
Yeah.
Right? Abolishing and keep going, right? Because the misconception about abolition is that, we want to shut down the prisons,
everything,
and open up the floodgates.
No, that's not.
We want to make it obsolete. To Angela Davis, right? We want to make prisons obsolete, right? And that includes changing our sentencing laws, providing, when people get home, we're small now, but our long-term plan, like our long-term detailed planned out, is that our directors on the inside, like Brian, like Eric, like Jay, like all of our folks, will not only get a program budget to develop a program that can simultaneously work inside a prison, but also in the community, and run that program. And from the day they're in, when we obviously, capitalism is a thing and got to work with the budgets and making that money, but getting paid that salary to do that job, and then coming home day one,
having money,
having
the ability to
job,
do,
right?
Yes.
And having a job, like, and we also even worked in of like, yes, you get home day one, you're not expected to
work.
We won't
today.
let you show up until you're 6 months old, but we'll pay you for those things. Like, this is our long-term longevity plan of like, No, people need to come home and have jobs and support their families,
I
right?
agree.
People need to come home.
Quality of life matters.
Right, and take those first 6 months, be with your family, be with your loved ones. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about the things, right?
Dog, don't worry about money.
Right.
That is a whole
Don't
nother
worry
level,
about
right?
money. Yeah. We got you. One of our good friends, another member of the Prisoners Brain Trust, our friend Kayleen, she remodels trailer homes, right? And not your movie scene, backwoods like trailer, but like, and it's like she's remodels them, and it's like when we get the money, like we've already been in like casual conversations of like, what does it actually mean to buy land
and just fill it up.
Yep. And fill it with these redone trailers. Here we go.
Build
Your
a whole
home
community.
Boom. Everything needed. Water, Wi-Fi, all the different, like this is where we're going, because it doesn't stop at just passing a policy. It stops when every single prison is shut down and it is turned into a community center where we can all have a meal together.
I just made a post on Facebook and said that formerly incarcerated could be one of the biggest and strongest bases if we only knew we had that type of power. There are so many of us who have come home from doing their time and just want that shit behind them. So they don't even do the advocacy of standing out front and waving and saying, hey, I'm formerly incarcerated, I'm doing good. They just wanted to live again, right? Get back to life. So they don't even realize the power they have as like a voting bloc and the abilities that we could really move some shit if all of us just tapped in to, what we've been through. So I definitely appreciate the idea of community. 2 more questions. Who do we need to educate, and how do you think we go about that?
Everybody.
Talk about it.
We need to educate everybody, not just our loved ones. It's everybody across the nation, right? Because, for example, when I talk to my friends or when I talk to somebody randomly and then they ask me like, oh, do you know about this? Do you know about that? And I'm like, yeah, but did you hear about felony murder law? They're like, oh my God, what is that?
Right.
Right. And it's so tedious. It is so tedious. So it's like everybody needs to be educated, and it starts with wanting to listen to your loved one that is incarcerated and has gone through it.
Yeah.
And it's not just listening, it's active listening, because there's a difference. There's a difference between active and just listening.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody needs to start active listening, because it could be you, not saying that you was there, right? It could be the next person. They can be going through it and you don't even know. The person next to you can be going through it and you don't even know.
Right.
So the education doesn't start when your loved one goes inside, because that's when it starts. That's when it starts, way before. It has to start way before that, because when you have the tools, you have a better fight. That's right. You have a better fight for yourself, for your family, for your future kids, for the next generation. Because we can be doing all this work, but what is all this work meaning for the next generation?
For sure.
If the next generation is not gonna grasp it either, because we can make the path, and we can lead everybody to it.
They gotta have the way. They have to have the vision.
But we have to have, everybody needs to start getting educated
about
everything. Everybody has to take the accountability, like saying like, oh my God, we have these individuals.
We're all a part of this big picture.
And we're all part of it.
Just a them problem.
Exactly, it's not. It's not, because when you go to a parole board and they see all the programs that you've done to redefine who you are as a person and not make whatever's on paper or whatever's on your jacket shine, and then you get let down. Like Alisha had to go to a parole board 4 times and she got denied 4 times. How much more reform can you do?
No, for real.
How much more schooling can you do? How much more work are you gonna get published? Or how many people are on the inside don't write for senators and publication, or professors? It's a ton.
Yeah.
It's a ton. It's not just, no, these people are so intelligent. No, there's mathematicians in prison.
There's some geniuses in
There is geniuses in prison. And without them, the people that are in power wouldn't be where they're at.
Hmm. Hmm. So that being said, Alicia, I got this last thing that I do on the podcast. I actually stole it from Billy and Wallow. I probably need to quit saying I stole it from them. They ain't like the originators of this. I heard it before I heard them say it, but they said it on their podcast before, and I like it. And it is GAME: guidance, attention, motivation, and education. So, last thought, final thought. I want to give some free game. Is there any guidance, attention, motivation, or education that you would like to give as a final thought?
Yeah. Carcerality goes beyond the prison systems. If we're really trying to change the system in all the different ways that we're trying to change it through, whether it's through legislation, is we need to like think about changing as society, because like we need to be thinking in abolitionist practices across the board of what does it mean to think differently? What does it mean to educate yourself? What does it mean to, honestly, what does it mean to know your neighbors? I think that's one thing that prisoners have right. You know every person on your cell block. You won't may not be friends with everybody, but you know every single person, where they're at, what they're doing, like what they do throughout their days in the community. People don't say hi to their neighbors, right? I think we were laughing yesterday about how mean New Yorkers are. Like, why are you saying hello to me? Why are you nice to me? And no, like, let's say hi to our neighbors. Let's get to know. Let's take that risk. And to quote Paris, when you're uncomfortable, you're actually making change. It's when you move when you stay comfortable, that's when nothing gets done. Challenge, if it's anyone who's listening, challenge yourself to be uncomfortable and learn something new. Whether it's about the prison system or whether it's a new cooking recipe, be uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, you're making change.
And Natalie, did you have something that you wanted to add?
What was the question? I'm sorry, I was making.
So, did you have a last thought, final thought, a little bit of game, or something you want to give? The last thing that you want people to think about when they get done hearing this podcast.
I think it's more like be grateful. Also be grateful for if you have your loved one next to you. Just look at that person and say, just tell them I love you or I appreciate you, because the holidays are coming up, right? And unfortunately, I don't have the ability to hold my husband on the holidays or sit down and have dinner with Brian through the holidays. So I think it's more like be appreciative of who you have in front of you right at this minute, because there's so many people that are in prison right now, where it's a men's prison, women's prison, that they wish they had what people are worrying about. Oh, I didn't get a kiss on New Year's Day. That's the least of our concerns.
That's real.
But educate yourself. Continue to educate yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because no question is a stupid question,
Real.
right? Every question has an answer, and just educate. Like, talk to your people. If you have loved ones that are incarcerated, talk to them. Ask them, what is it that you want? Challenge them to the point where it's like they're sitting in silence and then thinking about it and reevaluating, like, okay, what is it that I want? What is it that I want when I come home? What am I imagining for myself and for my family?
Appreciate you. That being said, man, I appreciate y'all for being a part of 17 Winners Podcast. Y'all know what time it is. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And free to real. Keep the rest. Don't forget to follow.